Hi, welcome to another Canto Roboflow training movie. Today I'm going to show you how to apply permission templates in Roboflow. You can achieve this as well in the Cumulus in the scheduler manager, but if you have several statuses or values to check and several permissions to set, instead of having to write one or two scheduler tasks for each of those, it's easier to do it in Roboflow. In the schedule manager, if you want to assign a permission template based on a field value, then if this schedule is running, for instance, every minute or every hour, then as long as that query is met, it will continue to apply it over and over again. So in Roboflow, we can fix that. I created a hot collection workflow, so a workflow that watches the Cumulus catalog based on a query. And then we can set an interval. I set it, for instance, to -2. I already created an additional parameter, and I'm quickly going to show you how I do that. So some parameter, whatever, and then you can add a special parameter, which is this one, which then will know that this is a table parameter file that needs to pop up with a dialog with several columns, and then here you specify the columns. So I already did that for the permission parameters. So what I have is I have a field to check for a certain value, and I have a value to compare it with. I have a permission template to apply if this is valid, and then I have a status to set, because otherwise, as I said before, if this is met, if this condition is met, and it finds this record over and over again every time it checks, it would apply the permission template over and over again. So that's not what we want. So I have here 2, but you could have 20. You can check on different fields, etc., etc. And apply different permission templates. So you have one solution for all your permission templates, one workflow. You can set one or multiple catalogs. It doesn't need to be one. You can have multiple catalogs as well. So then you separate them by just adding semicolons. And then the query. Well, I can do this in 2 ways. If your permission template is actually based on Cumulus triggers, is based on the fact that one field value changes. If this field value changes, then I will execute. Well, then you can configure a Roboflow trigger. Some other training movie can explain you how to do that, and then we can use this folder to watch that particular folder where the trigger files come in and then process those records. In that case, we don't need a query. Or we could have an additional query to filter out any status conditions we don't want. In this example, I'm going to keep it simple, and I'm just going to say whenever status equals approved or status equals rejected. Those are the 2 conditions that afterwards here will be checked on, in which case we are, or what the current value of it is, of the status field. So this query will give us that result. If you want to know where does this syntax comes from, go to the advanced search window, the find window in your Cumulus client, go to advanced, and you can construct a query in that syntax. So what we need to do, the workflow performs a query, and now it gives me the records. and it processes them one by one. So I get one record now, and it will execute this script. What will I do in this script? Well, I'm first going to read my parameter here. I'm going to store that in memory so that I don't have to do that over and over again. So I'm going to say that I want to store this as a file. I want to be able to talk to this file, so I'm going to say store the path that we specified as a file. It's going to say what path. Well, actually I could type in that path, but then this path would be hard-coded in my script, so I prefer to use a tag for it. I'm choosing any tag because the tag we're looking for doesn't exist in the standard workflow, so it doesn't show up in the drop-down list. So I just use the tag instruction to pick up a stored element in the workflow, and it's stored in your global parameters, so I can use it. What do I need to do? Well, it can create it if it doesn't exist. It will exist. We've set it up, but that's just safe. So I'm going to say permission params, which is then my file, and I'm going to add a little bit of comment, which makes my script much more readable if I come back later. The next thing is that I'm going to read that particular file as a tab limited text file. So I need it in memory. I need to process the rows of it. So I'm going to say store this text file as a table. So that's why I needed that file object. I had to be able to specify it here. I cannot specify the path. It's looking for a variable of a file. Then what type of separator? Well, it's a tab limited text and unsorted, searchable, or sorted. What is this? If you have a lookup table in which you want to do a search, then you would specify this, but this is not a lookup. I want to process the rows in the way they were created, sorted in a certain way by the creator. So I'm choosing sorted. So I don't need a search column, I just need my permissions. And now I have my permissions. So I'm going to say this table is the permissions. And the next step is now I'm going to run through the lines of those permissions. So conditional, no, we have a table now in memory. And so we're going to process the rows from a table. And then from that point on, I'm selecting the table. There's no search value. And I'm going to process all rows. There could be a header row in your text file, in which case you could decide to skip the first row. We're not going to do that. And again, we have to tell how it needs to process these rows. We tell it it's a sorted table. And the result is a line, a permission line. So it's actually an array. It's returning of strings of text, each individual element. So now I have this, I'm getting these permissions. So what do I need to do? Well, I'm going to ask for a field value to check. So I'm going to get a field value. So I'm going to store a record field value as text, and I'm going to get it from the hot record. Where is this coming from? Well, each type of workflow offers to its script the current item that it is processing. In a hot collection workflow, this is a record. In a hot folder workflow, this is a file. So it's offering this to the workflow, and these objects are always called hot. So in this case, it knows there is a hot object. And then the field name, I could type status and then it would be hard coded in here, but that's not what we want to do. We actually created this table to be able to have it dynamically. So I'm saying permission line, Yeah. So I could use first another instruction that says store permission from the array permission line number one element number one as field name. But there's a shorter way to describe that. You can use, like you do in many programming languages, you can specify this way that you want the first element of that. And what is that? Well, this will be the field value. And then the second thing we're going to do is now, and I'm getting here the field value. So I refer to field value equals the first from that element. Again, as I said, it makes the script so much more readable if you add a little bit of comments. So I'm processing the permissions here. The second column in my table was the value I want to check against. If it is this value, then I will apply this permission template. So good, we're going back to here, and I'm going to do an if test. I'm going to say conditional, and I'm going to test a piece of text, and I want to test the field value that it equals. And to what does it need to equal? Well, it needs to equal to the second column of that permission line. So, and then I say test if field value equals table field value. Again, give some extra comment, which means that it's going to do an if test. If that is the case, then we want to process this row, so we want to apply the permission template. So I'm going to say I want to do something with the record, and it's the first instruction in the list here, apply permission template. So then it's going to say which one do you want to apply. Well, you could select it, but then it's again hard-coded, so that's not what we want to do. Oh, I lost my, so I want to get my permission line, column number 3, permission line, and then column number 3 of the permission table. And that will pick up the name of the permission template. So I'm applying the permission template here. And then the last thing to do is I want to store a field value. So I'm going to say new, conditional. No, it's a record function I'm going to do. I'm going to set, cancel. I clicked again on this, too quick. Oh, again, new. I want to go to Cumulus record, not apply permission template, but what I want to do is set a record field value, text value. I don't want to use value because that requires a stored variable, and since it doesn't know that array as a text variable, it will not pop up. So I'm going to have to do it this way. Again, I'm going to say permission line, and then I'm going to say it's column number 4, and in column number 5 is the value. So here it's not asking for a stored value, it's asking for, so I need to specify it like this, like a plain text value. So I'm saying 5. Like this. So now I'm setting field value, and that's basically all there is to it. So a pretty straightforward, easy workflow with using a special parameter and you only need to specify this. If you specify multiple catalogs, it will repeat this workflow for each individual catalog. So it's not doing one search across all those catalogs. It's, if you specify 3 catalogs, it's doing the first catalog, processing it, doing the second catalog, processing it, doing the third catalog, and processing it. That's how it works. So you can have any number of catalogs, and your query can be whatever you need, or you can use the triggers that you can specify in your Cumulus native client based on some trigger values. You could specify a Roboflow trigger, but this case is just a simple and easy trigger. So this was an example of how the apply permission template works in a hot collection workflow. I hope this was useful for you, and see you in another training movie.